Hello and welcome to today's video. So many of you, well actually not many of you, some of you watched a really long time-lapse video of this being made. It's all pretty much the same. The only change I added, I believe I added a pull-down resistor to the analog input for the current sensor. That was missing and needs to be there in case there's a wire break or something. We can detect that the current sensor's gone bad. So that's useful for that. I can show you, go to 3D mode here and see if I can't move this around with one hand while holding the cell phone and trying to keep it centered in the screen, but you probably already saw it. It kind of lives on top of the contactor here. This connector over on the end goes out to the contactor. This one's your CAN bus, power and ground. This one goes out the current sensor. This is just like an expansion connector, can be I2C, UART, SPI, whatever, inputs, outputs, whatever. And then this last one's an auxiliary contact for turning on and off your battery charger or motor controller, depending on the state of the system. So that's pretty simple. I mentioned the current sensor. I actually made the board for that as well. This is it. Go into 3D mode here. And you can see my crude 3D model of the current sensor itself. But anyways, I ended up with two connectors on there, and that was because I couldn't make up my mind if how I'm going to mount it, because these are directional. Current has to go through one way. If you mount it, I didn't want the connector to be blocked. So these are identical. You can plug in the cable that comes out of the, or that'll go between it and the other, the current sense connector on the power controller. It'll just plug into either connector. So whichever side's like up against the wall, you can use either one. So that's convenient. And it's got like some mount holes. This has, this has captivated nuts in it, so you can put the screws up through the bottom here. But anyways, that is the current sensor. Really hard to move around, again, one-handed. But yeah, that's pretty good. And then, of course, Pack Sniffer 2. I was actually working on this while the other video was rendering. It was pretty close to being done. I only had like a little section up in here that needed to be done. I went ahead and got that all routed and back annotated and updated, Solectria and everything. And if we go with 3D model on that, you can kind of see it looks a lot like the old one. The only difference is, or version 1, PackSniffer version 1, is that it's got bigger connectors on it, with more pins in it, dual row instead of single row. I still have a micro SD card slot on there, which I'm not really planning on using that for anything. There's an expansion connector over here, which has the second CAN bus and more I/O to control the second battery pack. So not sure like this whole side of the board will get populated unless people really want that. And for controlling, two different things or two CAN buses, typically that's kind of not really useful. The other side has CAN bus, UART, all the other I/O and everything on one connector. It also has a USB side comes in through there, so normally you just have one side populated. But, if people need it, we can make that happen. One thing, the code is pretty much all done for this, because I had the prototype that I was working on for it, for the Pack Sniffer 2. The one thing that I do want to write that I haven't done yet is a USB mass storage bootloader for it. So, you just drag the hex file into the, firmware directory. It just shows up as a, like a USB memory key or, those little USB sticks that you plug into the computer. It shows up as a disk drive, and then you just copy the hex file into the firmware directory, and it'll bootload it. So I definitely want to do that, mainly because, if people want some new features, they want to send out different things, I can be able to make those changes and then put the hex file up on the website so everybody can download it and they can get those changes. It'll also be config file based. I think I did a demo on that a video of the config file system where you can just change things. You just open up the .cfg file on there on any PC, and then you can edit it in a text editor and then save it, and it'll, next time it boots up, it uses those new settings. So you can change like baud rate, what messages and what IO gets toggled, if it's overvolted, undervolted, you know, whatever. So we got all that, and then the last board I threw on here is, this is a button board, and that is used for inputs to my servo motion controllers, and it's really just there as a filler. You see, this is my array, and that's what I mean by filler. Advanced Circuits is who I have making the boards right now. They let you do 60 square inches, so it's in my best interest to fill it, maximize it. So you can see I threw those little button boards in there. I ended up with 2 of the power controllers, 4 current sensors, 5 pack Sniffer 2s, and 6 of the button boards. And this is should be under 60 square inches. I think it's like came out to be 59 square inches. I think we can. You really want to know? I think I can measure it here roughly. It's about 15.25 inches by 3.9 inches, somewhere in there. So, yeah. Should be under, I think they calculated it at 59 square inches, so it was under that limit. I think they have a 16-inch maximum in one direction, so I'm under that limit too. And the reason it is really long and not like more square shaped is because I didn't want to, they will route only the outside dimensions, so they're not going to individually route my boards. And so I want as many straight cuts as possible. So this will just, you know, I'll cut it along here, and then that piece I'll cut along here, and then cut that. And then these guys I can cut out. Same with all these. I just have these straight cuts that I need to make to singulate all my boards. And they will route the outside dimensions, so I definitely want them to do all of the fancy, you know, edges here, so I don't have to go through and cut those out on the bandsaw, because that'd be really hard. Probably have to file it. But since they're all the curves are on the edge of the board, they will route all those out for me, and then I just have to do the straight cuts. So that makes life a lot easier. Actually, you know, I think I can look at this in 3D. Might take it a little bit because it's got to go open up all the boards. But yeah, that lets oh, there it goes. So you can see what this massive thing looks like. It's kind of silly looking. It's kind of cool. But yeah. So anyways, yeah. So my quick update videos always end up being like really long, but that's what's going on. Those boards are being made right now, so I should have them in a couple weeks. And meantime, I got to build the parts list for every one of these things and get all the parts on order. Unless there's a whole bunch of people that want pack Sniffer 2s, I'm only planning on building up. I think I'm going to order enough parts. Oh, I got 3 of these boards for $33 each. Plus, they charge you an extra $50 if you do an array. So it ends up being like $172 for everything, including shipping, which is cheaper than OSH Park. I'd only, for that same amount of money, I'd only get like maybe 6 of the pack Sniffers and maybe 2 of these and maybe 4 of those. I don't know. So they end up getting some more boards. But yeah, I'm planning on building up maybe of the 6 of these boards that I'm getting, of the power controllers, I only need 4 of them, so I'm probably only going to order parts for 4, unless somebody wants one, then I'd order more parts, because I think they're going to be expensive. I think all these are going to be expensive. The current sensors, I'll probably build up. I need 4 for the truck, so I'll definitely build up 4, but I have like, I think I might have 8 current sensors just floating around, which aren't doing anything, and they're pretty useless without being on the board, which handles all the conditioning for it. The button boards, yeah, I'll build those up as needed, but the pack Sniffer 2s, I'm probably only I'll build up like 6 of them, maybe. I don't know, depends on if how many people actually want them. But, you know, I've got all the boards, so if I need more boards, I just hold on to them and use them as needed and just order the parts. That makes it cheaper. But anyways, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much the parts all cost. With the boards, try to keep it under, you know, a few $100s, but my guess is it's going to be pretty expensive, but we'll see. I don't really know without adding everything up in Excel. But anyways, yeah, this video ended up being really long. But thanks for watching. Bye.